Welcome back to Profits of IT, the podcast where we sit down with the smartest people in the IT channel and pull out insights that actually make a difference. I'm your host, Jim Punzenberger, founder and creator of ManagedProspectingSystem.com and author of $0 Advertising Strategies. A quick word from our sponsor before we begin. This episode is brought to you by ManagedProspectingSystem.com, a proven three-pillar system that helps IT service organizations generate predictable leads through authority content, LinkedIn outreach, and targeted email campaigns. If you're done hoping the phone rings and ready to build real pipeline, head to ManagedProspectingSystem.com. I'm excited to be sitting down today with somebody who works in a space that affects every single business in America. Almost nobody in the MSP world is talking about this, and he's the enterprise channel manager at Intrado, which is one of the leading names in E911 and emergency communication solutions. He's got over 30 years in technology, and he's still standing. That alone is achievement. Tom, welcome to Profits IT, and say hi to the audience.
All right. Thanks for having me, Jim. It's a pleasure to join you today.
So, Tom, let's jump right into your truth bomb. Yours is going to catch a lot of IT owners off guard because most of them have never even considered this. You told me that the biggest misconception is that emergency 911 compliance is achieved directly through the carriers, but that's not the case. You want to expand on that?
Yeah. So originally, gosh, you go back 20, 30 years ago when everything was wired, right? So all 911 was coming from the carrier. We knew the exact location as to where that call was coming from. You introduced cell phones, that made a big change. And then now that we're in the VoIP world, which, I was an early adopter back in the early 2000s, as we moved to the cloud of, 2010 and beyond. That made a huge change. So now it's now on the customer, the individual company itself to make sure that they're compliant between the different laws, Carey's Law, Ray Baum's Act, Alyssa's Law, and recently New York has put a new Retail Worker Safety Act in. And the bottom line is that you've got to be able to know exactly where to be able to identify where that location is so that dispatch can go there. And then where this NG 911, which everybody's talking about, or next gen 911, that's taking it even a step further. So not only being able to make phone calls, but instant messages, text messages to 911, communications that are other than just being able to speak on a phone is a big change that's coming, and it's available in certain areas of the country, not others. The PSAPs have to move up to it, but I think the understanding from IT owners and everybody else is everybody's so focused on security and so focused on protecting their borders within their company and how to protect their data stacks and building out and protecting their employees and their company from that standpoint, but they're neglecting and not looking at this area.
Yeah. So essentially, what we're talking about here is somebody calls 911, and if they're not compliant, or, essentially, like the ambulance could go to the wrong place and the person that needs help is not getting help, right? That sounds really
Right.
scary.
Or yeah, I mean, if it's an old address that was associated with a number, think of it today. It used to be that 911 was associated with a phone number and the PSTN, or the public switched telephone network, right? That there's parts of it that still exist today, but for the most part, we've gone to network across the board, right? And carriers. So it doesn't where to go, it's not going to send anything. So yeah, it's an interesting conundrum. There's plenty of capabilities and technologies, and Trado has solutions that can meet that compliance across the board for customers.
It's quite interesting. And let's shift gears here a moment and talk about your superpower. This is typically my favorite segment. And after yeah, I mean, you spent And Tom, after spending 30 minutes with you previously, it's obvious what it is. You told me that people feel comfortable talking to you, which I certainly do. And you said it comes through listening. How does that play into the channel and the role in management?
Good question. So, listening is a skill that not a lot of people have picked up or use, and I would say the active listening aspect, going through the everybody wants to hear about what's going on outside and hearing other people. Sorry, hang on one second here. Disruptions as happens when you're working from home, and listening to things around you. Um, the big thing is just you'll eventually get to talk, right? But I think there's a lot of successful salespeople out there that have just gone in and said, okay, I've got, a square peg and I'm going to fit it in a round hole, and they're going to do everything they can in order to get that done. That's not going to leave a happy customer. That's not going to leave things a recurring customer at the end of the day. The act of listening and then being that person that people feel comfortable in talking to, you're going to get a lot more information. You're going to be able to open up a lot more doors. The other things that it does for you is a lot of times if I can't help a customer or a partner, I would say 9 times out of 10, I know somebody that can, right? So paying that forward and working through that solution to get somebody else involved to handle the problem. But if you don't identify what the problems are originally and where their thresholds and what's happening, if you're not listening to find out exactly what those are, then you're just out there trying to sell a product or sell a box, sell a widget, and hopefully everybody buys it.
That makes sense. And so let's chat about your $1 million learning moment now. And yours is one that I think every experienced technical professional has felt at some point in their career. You told me that your biggest professional mistake has been thinking that you are the most knowledgeable person in the room. So, what did that cost you?
Um, wow. I mean, it probably cost me opportunity without a doubt within a particular organization, actually within a couple. Um, and even though I think from an experience standpoint, learning that you may be the smartest person or you may have the best knowledge for whatever that particular instance is. But again, it goes back to listening. Um, Listening to the other people around you and helping to build something and working as a team to build different stuff. And you pick this up over time, right? How to leverage people to for their strengths and their capabilities, and then to work together as a team in order to provide the solution that's correct. Um, yeah, I wouldn't say it burned bridges. I don't feel like I have too many bridges out there that I've ever burned, but it definitely caused some angst at the time and probably some disconnect at the time, which we could have been much more successful doing some different things if I wouldn't have been such a bull in a china shop, just being like, I'm the right one and this is the way it needs to be and this and that and the other. So,
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, so let's talk about what's exciting um, in your world. And I think something that every MSP owner should hear more about. And I guess you mentioned that before that every company has a IT disaster recovery plan. Um, they have security in place for their networks, but what about what's the disaster plan for their employees if something happens?
right. Duty, it's funny. I mean, there's back in the 70s, there was this thing established called duty of care, which was companies having to make sure that they take care of their employees in all aspects, right? And I think back in the day, it was a very high priority because it wasn't happening, right? So that's why duty of care came around and started focusing on the people. And again, like I tell everybody, especially when I'm working with customers and consulting and different things, is like the most expensive expense in your business is your people. And if you're not doing the best that you possibly can to take care of that investment, then you're shooting yourself in the foot because at some point it's going to come back to bite you. Where I said that we talk about security and disaster recovery and those types of situations with companies, um, because a lot of companies don't know or don't understand that they have to be compliant. They have to meet these laws. They have to do these things to be compliant in order to meet that duty of care for their internal customers, their employees, and then also for their external customers. If you have external customers coming on site and for any stretch or any reason, and you're not meeting those criteria, you're not only putting your workers at risk, but anybody else who's coming on board and customers, and then reputational damage and all of those different things. So, my suggestion to MSPs, OSPs, all of these different service providers, as a service, we've talked about it for years. Um, Make sure that you're taking those steps and doing those things to protect yourself, protect your customers, protect your internal customers and your external customers, and just make it part of your conversation. If you don't, then you can go back and look at some of the situations with like Carrie's Law. I mean, that was over a $40 million lawsuit that was awarded to the family of that situation. How many companies can withstand that? Not a lot, right?
Right.
That's a big chunk. And so yeah, so that's what I try and communicate, get people to understand. It's very important right now.
It's to me too, it just sounds like it's just the right thing to do. Like, don't you want to make sure that if something happens that it it's going to be um the 911 is going to have the right information essentially.
Right. It's not that hard and it's going to cost a few more dollars. But again, in companies where they're scaling back, right? I know times are tough right now. Companies are scaling back on, maybe 401k matches or what insurance they're being able to provide. And our costs as employees have gotten more expensive year over year. As a former business owner, man, I've been there, done that, know it. Having to go to payroll and realize that you have to pay your people and maybe you're not taking a paycheck. And those are real situations with business owners and the things that are happening today. At the end of the day, spending a few extra dollars, look, it's an insurance policy. It's just like anything else. You have insurance on your business, you have insurance on your car, you have insurance on your home. If you didn't have flood insurance with all the flooding that happened this last year, then you're not going to get it covered, right? It's not going to be replaced. You're going to have to come out of pocket for that. Those are all things that are real. This is the least expensive insurance policy that you can have in order to protect your people.
So if somebody, an MSP owner would like to learn more, what would be the great way to get in contact with you and maybe what would the next steps be?
Yeah, I mean, easiest way is get a hold of me through LinkedIn. So my profile is Tom Shinners on LinkedIn. You can send me an email at tom.shinners@intrado.com. And if you reach me out to either one of those, then we can send an email. I can make a phone call. I can send you my office number and my cell phone number. The big thing is just, yeah, I mean, make that initial contact. Hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm watching it pretty much every day. The email is probably the fastest. I'll respond immediately toward that within 24 hours and be able to communicate with you.
Cool. Well, that's a wrap on another episode of Profits of IT. Tom, 30 years of wisdom packed into just a few minutes. I appreciate you bringing it today. And before we sign off, if you're an IT company owner and you're tired of inconsistent leads, unpredictable revenue, and marketing that doesn't deliver, head over to managedprospectingsystem.com. I'm Jim Punzenberger. I built this system because I've been in your shoes. I've owned and sold an MSP. I know what it takes to build real pipeline. Once again, that is managedprospectingsystem.com. Let's build yours. And until next time, stay hydrated and caffeinated. Bye for now.